Good morning. It is Tuesday, the 18th of December, 2012. Here are the news headlines for Panama today. Leading off in La Prensa, there's a headline saying that the public debt for Panama is going to exceed that which was forecast. It seems like for 2012, the total public debt is going to come in at about $14.5 billion, about 300 million higher than what was forecast. Of course, now this is coming from La Prensa, and La Prensa is going to find a way to say anything bad about what the government's doing. In fact, the government is limited by law based on the amount of public debt that the government can take on is limited by law depending on a percentage of the GDP. So if the GDP gets bigger, then by law, the Panamanian government can take on slightly more debt. At the beginning of the year, the forecast for growth in Panama was about 7%, and the growth came in at about 10%, which means the GDP is bigger than what was forecast, which means the government can take on more debt, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with what they're doing. And it's like 40% of GDP. It's not, it's not like Panama's carrying this massive amount of debt that they can't handle, but doesn't matter. Don't bother trying to tell the truth about the math and the number and the economics, because La Prensa just tries to find a way to make the government look bad no matter what they do. Speaking of which, let's hop straight over to the Panama American newspaper, and on their headline today is, it turns out that the owner of La Prensa, Roberto Eisenman, donated a pickup truck worth about $30,000 to the Indian chief Carrera. You remember back when they were doing all of the protests over the mining and all that stuff? Well, guess what? This guy from La Prensa, and who's an activist in the Panamanista party, just gave a pickup truck, which is worth $30,000, to the primary person that was driving those demonstrations. Now, of course, Eisenman just says, no, it was just a donation. I saw her walking around and realized that she needed a vehicle, so it's just a charity donation. Of course, it's like donating ham. Everything in this country is political, okay? I mean, you can't see a donation of a $30,000 pickup truck to a political opposition leader who was out there causing as much grief as possible for the Martinelli administration during the mining debate, and then not see a connection between the two acts from a political point of view. And Eisenman admitted that he donated the truck. So there you go. Over to La Estrella. There's Anibal Salas is one of the judges on the Supreme Court, and his term in office ends on the 31st of December 2012 in just, a few days. The President Martinelli has not named his replacement yet. Everybody thinks it's going to be the current Attorney General, Jose Ayu Prado, basically because Jose Ayu Prado, in the public ministry as the Attorney General, in an organization that's supposed to be absolutely independent of the executive branch, has been doing exactly everything that Martinelli wants him to do. So, once again, if, and Martinelli hasn't done it yet, but if he names Jose Ayu Prado to the bench, then that will basically just be saying thank you and putting him in a government job on the Supreme Court for the next 10 years. And everybody kind of expects that's exactly what's going to happen. All right, popping over to La Crítica, right there on National Avenue, Avenida Nacional, in front of the Bingos Nacionales. A 25-year-old guy was walking down the street. Two people pulled up, shot him twice in the head, left. Right in the middle of downtown. This kind of stuff happens, and there's some kind of a connection between that guy and the people that killed him. And they don't catch these guys, all right? Just to be honest with you, when somebody like that gets blown away, he's dead, they're gone, and chances of anybody catching anybody are slim to none. Okay, now here's one that came up yesterday, which I thought was pretty friggin' hilarious. There's a guy selling Christmas trees over in San Miguelito, and they got pictures and video. Well, actually, it's pictures of this guy, not video. The trees are like the Christmas trees that they bring down, they bring them down from like Canada and the United States in containers, and they bring them in frozen, and they've been cut months ago, well, not months ago, at least weeks ago. Well, now it's only like 7 days before Christmas, and the trees are starting to kind of dry out. So what's this guy doing? He holds up the tree, and he's got a can of green spray paint, man, and he's painting the tree. It's hilarious. He's like, oh, no, it's not brown and dried out. It's a green tree. You're going to love it. It smells like Christmas. No, dude, it smells like paint. Well, they're going to investigate this guy, and, I guess it's not illegal to paint a Christmas tree, and I guess I would challenge them to find a law that says that it is. But anyway, it just happened. Okay, the question about you remember Galvez, the president of the National Assembly, that gave away 30,000 hams for more than $600,000 of public money? Well, the opposition leaders from the PRD are demanding that be investigated. Well, the president has already said he's not going to investigate it. The attorney general, who's about to be appointed to the Supreme Court, has already said that he's not going to investigate it. So it's not going to be investigated. And basically everybody's just kind of going, business as usual, gave away 30,000 hams. What's the problem? What's the part that you don't get? Speaking about parts that you don't get, there's this issue of building the parking spaces at the Supreme Court has come up again this week. The residents of the area of Ancon are protesting it. They're the only people that don't want it. Basically, everybody else thinks it's a good idea. They are going to have to remove 34 trees. Listen to this. They're going to have to cut down only 34 trees in order to build 356 parking spaces. That's because the area where they're going to build this parking garage is already a parking lot. There's like 30 trees around the edges or mixed into this thing, okay? And then, of course, they cut down 34 trees. They'll plant 340 trees somewhere else. It's a making headlines because it's, environmentalists and people chaining themselves to trees or whatever. But once again, you know where I stand on it. I think it's freaking stupid. I think they should build the parking and plant the trees somewhere else, and off we go. Now, here's one in Mediadio, which is pretty slick. The police are trying to improve their monitoring processes of in the areas where people do their Christmas shopping. So they've built this thing, which is like a police observation tower. It's like a cage that it says police on it, and it's got a roof, and it's up on a forklift, and the thing's like 30 or 40 feet in the air. They've got a truck, and they lift this thing up in the air, and they got a cop up there with binoculars. So he's observing, he's got a radio, and he can observe from on high what's going on down in the shopping area, and then report back to the other units on the ground who can go wrap up the bad guys, which is just pretty cool. But it's a new thing. They haven't done it before, so it caught some attention. Okay. And then the last thing today from the Dia Dia newspaper, the director of the Cinebrook is saying that there are people who are clandestinely selling fireworks. They're trying to put a clamp down. Every year, the biggest blow-off of fireworks in Panama is on New Year's into, the 1st of January that night. And every year they have dozens of kids that just get burned, and they get fingers blown off, and they have things that go off in they lose an eye, or they lose parts of their bodies. So they're trying to control and reduce the amount of fireworks that are sold on the streets, and then people are importing them and selling them clandestinely anyway. They caught some people that were selling them out of their house. Okay, anyway, that's a wrap for today, Tuesday, the 18th of December, 2012. There are, counting today, 7 shopping days left before Christmas. So if you haven't done your shopping, get out there and do it. I'm going to put this video out on the outside of the paywall just as a kind of a tease or an advertisement, so the people who are not subscribing can see what it is that they're missing. And that's it. I'm out. Have a great day. Bye.